It's like a bit of a sneak preview. When I say this type of dogs. So it's about the challenge to ask. We're actually I would put here recreating or it to increase flooding and to help the nature that we'll see. So doing I'm sorry to tell you. Fantastic areas. So without much further ado, within the next century or more, think about 1 metre of ground. It may know what we are exactly. Situation, but we've got to change for threatening us, but it's threatening closed off. Today here, strange, a lot of development was now is really not good for a lot of waders. Wildlife habitats for us because and storms. So this is the area that I want partners, but it's our reserve, our funding from project in just on the whole area hectare field of Nig Bay. So the rest of the expansion, just 25 hectares reached. So we're a bit more than 10 years on, but we're producing a should be on our website. So worked? Has it worked to what we expected? Benefit. 19th century, it was the whole area was marshland. Some cattle on it, but I need to build a sea defence here. So that's what we did. And you can see the original creek system here. And so when the modelers came in to say, well, what would it look like when we breach and we allow managed realignment to take place, pretty much, because this land had not been ploughed and worked a lot, it was just rough grazing. It looked pretty much predicted that that's what would happen. And you can see that when we did put in the breaches here and here, back in 2003, the salt marsh that started to be formed in these areas and the areas of mudflats then pretty much followed the existing boundaries. So it's saying that, you know, you put something back after 40, 50 years, and nature goes back to what it wanted to do originally, very quickly. And then that's a more recent photo of that. So that's the video. So do have a look at that in your own time. That is live. So you can see Nig Bay. What's happened to it? So very quickly, it's a 25 hectare field. Within the first 6 months, there were 3. So after, in the first sort of winter period, there were 3 salt marsh plants that had colonised already. So it shows that in the water, in the sea, there is plenty of seeds and spores and however salt marsh plants regenerate. I have no idea. I'm not an ecologist, sorry. But they come along, they come quickly, and then even by year 3, salt marsh plants dominated. And 9 years after the breach, all the plots that were had, so many plots in this whole area, were salt marsh. Benthic invertebrates, they colonise very quickly, and you can tell that they're there because the birds are there feeding. So in the first winter after breach, there were 3 bird species using that site. But in the second winter, it jumped to 19 species. So it means the bird food is there, the wildlife has come back, and now there it stands at 25 species. And if I don't... sorry, that's vegetation change. You can see, over time, sorry about this scale here, but you can see this is the salt marsh habitat, that it comes back pretty quickly, and actually much quicker than was expected. So a real positive thing. And that's the sort of habitat in Nig Bay that it returned to, so the salt marsh habitat over most of the site. So now there's 30% more salt marsh in that area. But the really important thing about, remember that just that small little bit sticking out at the top of the salt marsh. It's not that that's just there and it adds a bit more salt marsh. It's the importance of that salt marsh. It's the fact that at a time of winds going in the right direction or a very high tide, that becomes a refuge. Remember that picture I showed you on the 4th, where the coastal squeeze, a very, very tight squeeze of land. That 25 hectare field with all this habitat, it allows 2,000 birds to be using that in that high tide period. It allows wildlife to be having somewhere over to feed as the tide comes in. It's just so important to have that extra bit of that, what seems small, but that extra bit of habitat. So I see I've only got 3 minutes left, and if I don't put a few birds up, a spy in the RSPB will tell me off. So 1 metre of sea level rise. This is back on the 4th, and Skinflats is down here somewhere. And David talked to you about the interferotin site, so I won't talk about that too much. But we want to see more of that, of Nig Bay. We want to see more managed realignment. We need that. I mean, basically, we need it for humans, for flood risk and sea level rise, and we need it for wildlife. So where can we do that? But the problem is, the areas that you can do it now, because partners are involved and they're happy to do it, like on interferotin, you wouldn't really choose that if you wanted to make it happen now. Because I think this is a similar slide to what David showed. The problem is that policies aren't in place. So the advocacy I was talking about at the beginning, that's what we need to achieve. We know what we need to do. We know that there are tools available, managed realignment can happen. We need to show that can be done in more places in other places. The problem is that, yeah, we don't have the policies in place. We have flooding, but this isn't in a flooding vulnerable area. So no council is going to come along and say, oh, I'm going to put, we'll put lots of money in to protect this seawall, which is a bit sugary. We're not going to do that because it's not protecting anywhere. So that is an example of all the position. Well, everything's in place to make that happen, apart from some money, but the policies aren't in place to make that happen. And there are very few, pots of money to make it happen. So the SRDP, someone said we've got loads of money in the SRDP. I contest that strongly. There's not loads of money in the SRDP. It's spread out so thinly. And if you want to do something like this on SRDP to say, that's a really good use of public money, unfortunately, it only allows you to breach a hole here and here. It doesn't allow you to protect around here with a secondary sea defence. We are very limited in making these sort of really necessary things happen. Okay, so we won't get 1 metre of sea level rise tomorrow, so all this has to start tomorrow, but we have to have a phased approach, and government needs to have an overall vision for how it's going to protect our coasts, and it needs to create that very soon. We can't just have the coast being the little bit in the middle between the well-planned marine bit and the well-planned land bit, because government has a very siloed approach. We need to make sure that flooding, coastal protection, land use, all the bits of policy that affect the coast come together, and we have a really good vision for making this sort of thing happen. Because maybe it is that we need to see more of this. We'll need to see more of this in 100 years. Protective habitat, which is good for wildlife and good for people. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for being exactly on time, ending with a